Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in the last class, we have introduced about content delivery network. We have discussed with the example of Google server, where instead of maintaining single centralized server, where we will be having entire data which user will be retrieving, what can be feasible option is we will be having end servers which can be communicated directly with the end users, and within what you call less distance we could able to reach that end server, so that user could able to find good performance and good response time for the request. This is what the basic idea of content delivery network. And in general, traditional CDN, traditional content delivery networks, how they were used is, suppose if you hold a network, if you are running, not network, sorry, if you are running a company, okay, you have to maintain a server, database server, let us say, for several users which are distributed over several geographical locations. Okay, in order to ensure that quick response time for all the requests given by the user, what you need to what you can do is you can maintain several servers, several replica of database servers, so that user could able to uh, contact with the nearest server to get the required information. This is what can be done. So each and every company or organization will establish a network called content delivery network, where the response time can be reduced. By using this kind of network, the response time can be reduced. But what is the problem with traditional content delivery network is, one company has to establish so many servers, and at one particular time, to establish that particular one, so much infrastructure needs to be established. That is one thing. And the maintenance cost and other vulnerabilities whatever we will be having, those all needs to be taken care by the company or organization. This is a basic list of challenges can be faced. Now, what is the idea here is, we are having storage clouds. That means Amazon will be providing some storage cloud, Microsoft will be providing some storage cloud, like that several storage clouds we are having. Now, idea is building a content delivery network by using these as the end servers. Whatever the storage clouds we are having, by using those storage clouds as end servers, can't we build a network, can't we build a common network by using these storage clouds called content delivery network? Okay. Now, the motivation is, by making use of those storage clouds, how can we build content delivery network? Okay. There is a content delivery network proposed and being used called Meta CDN, Meta Content Delivery Network, which is built by using several storage clouds. Okay, namely Amazon, Microsoft Azure, what we call earlier we have seen, right, Moose. Those all are several storage clouds. By using these, some framework, some common overlay network was built, which we can consider as content delivery network and named as Meta CDN. Okay, so whatever the storage clouds that we have and we have considered are, first of all, Amazon simple storage service, that is Amazon S3, and CloudFront. What's the difference between these two? We have seen a simple storage service, in the sense just we will be having centralized storage where we can have storage capacity. CloudFront means it's like end users, end servers. Okay, like content delivery network will be having several at several locations. Same kind of data, same data will be replicated. That is a CloudFront. Next, another one is Nirvanix. We have seen, which is another variant of this storage cloud. Then Rackspace clouds, cloud files, which is nothing but just a second. I think. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So Rackspace Cloud Files is another storage cloud which was formerly called as Mosso. And we have seen with respect to these storage clouds, what are the parameters that we can consider as a cost estimation? Like for one particular GB of incoming data, how many dollars it is charging for Nirvanix, for Amazon S3, CloudFront, for Rackspace Cloud Files, Azure. These all how the prices are like that we have seen. And importantly, the parameters here. You see the leftmost column, that is first column. There you can see what are the costs that can be incurred, like incoming data. For incoming data, how they are charging. For outgoing data, how they are charging. For storage, how they are charging. Next, number of request based, how many requests it is processing as put request, like placing the data, how many requests. And for 1,000 requests, how many dollars it is charging. And for 10,000 get request, like getting the data from the storage, how many dollars it is charging, like that. These all are the parameters to be considered while estimating the cost of one particular storage cloud based upon the cost incurred. And whatever the requirement that we have, like let us say um, our storage requirement is like we need to hold lot of data. And yeah, we need to hold a lot of data uh, all the time. Only get request will be getting. That is the thing means. Then what can be done? We can choose wisely that which storage cloud will provide us the required services for what you call less price. That we can calculate by considering this kind of table, by considering all the storage clouds and the required parameters. Based upon that, we can calculate the uh, cost estimation. Based upon that, we can take the decision. This is what can be done. So now the idea is we have to build a network called content delivery network. Okay, formally we call it as Meta CDN, which is used to provide a low cost, high performance content delivery network for by cloud users. Okay, by using storage clouds. This is what the basic idea of Meta CDN. It is a system that leverages existing storage clouds and encoding services, creating an integrated overlay network that aims to provide low cost, high performance and easy to use content delivery network for content creators and consumers. For both, they will build a network called CDN, Meta CDN. Next, this can be accessed. This Meta CDN can be accessed as a web portal, and another thing as a web service. Okay, as a web portal means this web portal has been developed by using Java Enterprise and Java Server Faces JSF technologies with MySQL backend to store user accounts and deployments, and the capabilities, pricing, and historical performance of service providers. These two will be provided in the web portal. Okay. Next, it is the entry point to the system and also functions as an application level load balancer for end users. Okay, who wants to download content that has been deployed by Meta CDN. For this, by using this Meta article web portal, Meta CDN web portal, user could register themselves, and while registration, they could specify what are the preferred storage storage clouds can be used, so that based upon that, Meta CDN will ensure while deploying what you call end servers which will provide a less response quick response time, you can say. This was the idea we had discussed in the last class. And coming to the implementation, how this Meta CDN could able to build unique platform for all the storage clouds in order to create content delivery network is there. There is a common or what you call common base class, we can say, from which every storage cloud needs to what you call derive the abstract class called a default constructor. It will prescribes the basic functionality that each provider could be expected to support, and it must be implemented for all existing and future connectors. This is the basic thing. That is, a default constructor is the abstract class from which every cloud provider, storage provider or storage cloud needs to derive. Okay, that means this default connector will provide what is the basic functionality or common functionality which needs to be incorporated in every storage cloud. Okay, whenever we derive a class from an abstract class called default connector, then all the functions or the methods which were declared in default connector needs to be defined, which we have seen in the previous class. Like default connector is the abstract class, and here we are having the methods like create folder, delete folder, create file with two types of parameters: rename file, create torrent file, torrent next delete file, list files. Like these are several basic functionalities which Meta CDN is expecting to have in every storage cloud are specified here. Whenever storage cloud needs to part of this Meta CDN, it needs to derive from this default connector, and it has to give the definition for all the functions or the methods declared in this particular default connector. Suppose if some functionality is not being supported by particular storage cloud, depending upon the policies or the priorities of storage, that particular storage cloud, some functionalities may not be supported. Let us say Amazon S3, it is not providing support for renaming a file directly. Whatever the file we have uploaded into Amazon S3, we cannot rename. That is the what you call convention they adopted. So even though rename file, this particular function is available in this default connector, which needs to be incorporated in Amazon S3, which is not supported according to the policy of Amazon S3, then what it can be done is it has to specify by using throws keyword. Throws feature not supported exception. What it will denote is whatever the feature or the service which is not being provided by this storage cloud, that has to throws feature not supported exception, so that whenever user wants to use that directly, then it will raise an exception called feature not supported. Okay, this is one of the examples. Another example is like Nirvanix connector. This is another storage cloud which is deriving from same default connector, and it is not supporting the feature called creating torrent. Then it has to throw an exception called feature not supported exception, so that whenever users try to create a torrent, then it will raise an exception. Okay, similarly here another function is also for the same purpose, creating a torrent by providing another type of parameter. It is also not supported by this Nirvanix connector. That's why it is throwing an exception called feature not supported exception. So this is a basic example for creating meta CDN connectors. Okay, basic requirement is we have to derive from default connector, which is an abstract class, and we have to define all the methods which are declared in this default connector. If anything is not supported, then we have to throw this exception. That is basic thing needs to be understood. Yes, is it clear, man? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now we will see meta CDN architecture. This one we have seen in the previous class. Just few seconds we have seen this architecture. Now we will see in detail. What we are having here is meta CDN, in which we are having several components: meta CDN manager, meta CDN QoS monitor, meta CDN allocator, meta CDN database. These are the several components that we have in meta CDN. By using this, these all will be connected. Like here we will be having a default connector, as we have seen in just now. Here you see default connector. Yeah, here we are having default connector. From this we are getting Amazon S3 connector, Nirvanix connector. Similarly, here you can observe that from this meta CDN, okay, inside this we will be having default connector. From this, what we are getting, what we are deriving: Amazon S3 connector, Nirvanix connector, Cloud Files connector, like this several connectors we are deriving from this actual cloud. This is infrastructure actually, okay, physical infrastructure that we have. So now we'll be discussing about this particular part, that is meta CDN. What are the components that we have? Meta CDN manager, monitor, allocator, QoS monitor, allocator, and a database. And this particular meta CDN can be communicated or can be utilized by using two ways. One is by using meta web portal. Another one is by using this one as the web service. These two are the ways to communicate with meta CDN. Now we will be seeing these four components. What are the functionalities of these four? Yeah. See, meta CDN service has a number of core components. What are the core components that we have seen already? Allocator we have seen, QoS monitor, then load distributed, database. These are the core components. So meta CDN service has a number of core components that contain the logic and management layers required to encapsulate all the functionality of different upstream storage providers. That is whatever we have at the end, storage providers, and present a consistent unified view of the services available to end users. It will provide a uniform view to the user. Why? Because this is the only interface which is available to the user, and through which these all clouds can be utilized in order to act as CDN. So now the interface available for the user is uniform. Okay, unified interface will be provided to the user through this meta CDN. Okay, here we are having several components. That is what specified, and these components include meta CDN allocator. The name itself indicating what is the function? What can be the functionality of allocator? Is it has to select optimal providers to deploy content. The same service or the storage can be availed by using any of the services. Okay, any of these cloud storage clouds. Now it is like as these all clouds needs to act as end servers. Which server, if which cloud if you choose, that is more optimal for us, that will give more profit to the user, or with less price we could able to provide service to the user. How which one we have to choose, that can be taken care by Meta CDN allocator. Okay, that is the basic functionality of Meta CDN allocator. That is, it has to select optimal storage providers to deploy content, and performs actual physical deployment. Accordingly, it will select one of the cloud and it will deploy that particular data in that cloud. That is what the functionality of allocator. Next, second one is Meta CDN QoS monitor. The name itself indicating QoS monitor, quality of service, tracks the current and historical performance of participating storage providers. Yeah. So here, QoS monitor tracks current and historical performance of participating storage cloud providers, and Meta CDN manager tracks users' current deployment and performance various housekeeping tasks. What are these housekeeping tasks? We will see. Um, Here, QoS monitor is to track the performance of storage clouds, and CDN manager is to track users' current deployment and performs various housekeeping tasks. Okay. Next, Meta CDN database. Here you can observe that Meta CDN database. Here also the name specifying database stores crucial information needed by the portal, ensuring reliable and persistent operation of the system. This is the functionality of Meta CDN database, and we are left with one more component called load redirector. Here you can observe load redirector, which is responsible for directing Meta CDN end users to the most appropriate file replica. As we have discussed while introducing this concept, we will be having centralized server, and we will be having end servers, which are in close proximity to end users. Those we call it as end users, end servers. Instead of establishing these end servers on our own, what we are using, storage clouds we are using. Depending upon the availability and their geographical locations, we will be preferring certain storage clouds. Now, what is the information or the data that we will be having in end servers? Same data which we are having in this. Okay, these all are replicas. Like here, let us say 4 end servers we are having. In these 4, we will be having same data. Okay, one is replica of another. Okay, centralized storage will be having. These all are replicas. Periodically, this will be updated. Okay, whenever some update happened, then it will be communicated to the centralized server, and centralized server will ensure that same data will be available in other replicas as well. Okay, these all we can consider as replicas. Okay, these all are end servers and replica of each other. That means the same data will be present in all the end servers. Okay, now what is the functionality of the vertical load redirector is end user, it will redirect end users to the most appropriate file replica. Out of 4, okay, some request received, then which one to which replica user could able to, from which replica user could able to get the data. Of course, all 4 are having the data which is required by the user, but from which replica if user access, within less time, within peak time, he could able to get the required data. That will be taken care by load redirector. To that particular replica, request will be redirected, so that from this user could able to get. Suppose this replica will give quick response time, then that request will be redirected to this replica, so that user will get quick response. This is the functionality of load redirector, Meta CDN load redirector. Is it clear, ma?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next, Meta CDN database stores crucial information, of course, needed by the Meta CDN system, such as user details, their credentials for storage cloud and other providers, and information tracking their content and any replicas made of such content. This entire information will be present in Meta CDN database, so that whenever a request is received by the Meta CDN, then accordingly load redirector has to redirect to a certain replica based upon the information available in Meta CDN database. Okay, so this is about Meta CDN database, and as we have seen, Meta CDN allocator allows users to deploy files either directly or from an already publicly accessible origin website. That is, allocator allows users to deploy. What is the functionality of this allocator? We have seen, if user needs to deploy some data, which storage cloud is suitable, that will be specified by this Meta CDN allocator. That is the first functionality we have seen. Second functionality is, on that particular storage cloud, physical deployment, that will also be taken care by this Meta CDN allocator. There are two functionalities which are being provided by Meta CDN allocator. First one is selecting the appropriate storage cloud and deploying physical deployment of that particular data. These two are the functionalities of Meta CDN allocator. Now, the same thing is being discussed here. See, Meta CDN allocator allows users to deploy files either directly or from, it supports a deployment, right? So the deployment can be of two types, like files can be directly deployable. Another one is from already publicly accessible origin website. If you upload the files directly, that we call it as uploading files. If you use from an already publicly accessible origin website, then that is called as side loading the file. That is where the backend storage provider pulls the file just from other publicly accessible place. It will take the content. If you give on your one, that is called uploading. If you take from already publicly accessible web portal, then we can say it as side loading. Okay. Now, Meta CDN will perform any of will support these two while deploying files. Now, it is important to note that not all backend providers support side loading, and this is naturally indicated to users as appropriate. It's like we cannot access, although it is publicly available, we cannot access the data from all the websites directly. Okay, it is specific to the application. So here we can observe one entity relationship diagram. How many of you heard about this entity relationship diagram? Yes. Have you heard ER diagram? Yes. ER diagram. In which subject? At least subject name. Just please respond, ma'am. Which subject? ER diagram. Amrita.
So MySQL.
Huh?
Database, sir.
Yeah, database. For what purpose we will use this ER diagram?
For relationship entity diagram, sir. To see the relationship between two entities or two or more entities.
Sir, you have muted yourself.
Can you able to what you call, differentiate what is an entity and what is an entity set? Entity and entity set, two kind of terms you might be knowing, right? Entity and entity set. What's the difference? Or what is meant by an entity? Just to give you an example for an entity. Yes.
The entity can be any real-time object.
Yeah. Yeah. What is entity set?
Group of entities.
Yeah.
Group of entities with same name.
Group of similar entities we can consider as entity set, not for different types, right? Like you consider one student details, so and so number, so and so name, like this. If I specify, that is an entity.
It's like
We-
array.
Array, it's a little far to the concept actually, but you can consider, because there are also homogeneous types only will be having. Okay, fine. Or if you wanted to relate to array only, means you relate with the array of structures, then it will make some sense. Got it? Array of structures like student data, if you declare as an structure, and if you create a variable of type structure, then we can consider that entire data will represent an entity. Okay, such kind of variables, if you create as array of structures, then we can consider as entity set. So what can be given as the name is a student, where we will be having certain common attributes, common properties we can identify as attributes for each and every entity. So entity set will be having common attributes which are common for all the entities of that particular type. Like this entities, and between two entities we can have some relationship that we can represent by using diamond, and this in ER diagram entity set we represent as rectangle, isn't it? Like this some concepts related to ER diagram, I think you could able to understand, you could able to relate to things. Yeah, now we'll see here entity relationship diagram for meta CDN database. Usually whenever we model an ER diagram, what is the benefit that we will get here? This ER diagram, although it is conceptual, okay, it is not having any physical significance. This can be converted to, this conceptual schema can be converted to physical schema by creating tables, isn't it? Got my point? If you create an entity ER diagram by converting this ER diagram to relational schema, we could give physical existence for these tables. Okay, these all relationships and all we can give physical existence. Got it? Yes. What is the otherwise I will tell you one single line. If you design a ER diagram, then by understanding this ER diagram, if you convert this into tables, then whatever the relationships we wanted to establish, those all will be covered in this tables, like primary key, foreign key, some check constraint. These are all things we need to have in the database, in the resultant database. Means, but if you model an ER diagram where we will be incorporating all the things, we'll be identifying all the things and incorporating the ER diagram, we'll easily we could able to convert this to relational database by identifying what are the tables and what are the attributes, what are the columns that we need to have, and which attribute, which columns we have to refer to another table, column, or what are the constraints that we need to establish within one particular table. These all things will be specified in ER diagram. When you convert easily, we could able to incorporate all the things. This is the basic advantage of having ER diagram. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now this MetaCDN database, what it will contain is what are the who are the users and what are their credentials and the content where in which particular replica the content is deployed. All these things has to be stored in this database. Why? Because load redirector will communicate, will refer this database in order to redirect user request to corresponding replica. So entire data related to replicas and the content, users, all these things needs to be present in this database. That's why we are having here, you see, this is an entity set. All the rectangles are entity sets. All the diamonds are relationship set. Okay, not relationship, relationship set. That is between one entity to another entity, we are having certain relationships. Such kind of relationships we will put together and we will form a relationship set and we will denote with the diamond. Okay, what is the relationship set name? Has here. Here, the name is for the name is here posted by like this. Between these two entity sets, we are having a relationship set called has. And what is this one? Ma? Any answers? What is this one? 102 M11. What are these? Yes.
One to one, one to many connections.
What you call this? This is cardinality. Okay, cardinality. Like one user has CDN, several CDN credentials. Okay. Yeah. Next, each CDN credential will be for one CDN provider, one credential for one provider. This is the relationship. Like this, this will specify participation constraint. Like how many entities can participate in one particular instance of relationship with another entity. So this is what specified in the form of cardinality. So 0 to M means, what does it mean? We can have a user which is having how many credentials? 0 to M. Certain number of credentials we can have. Okay, multiple credentials we can have for a user. And content, we can have content, and it can be deployed in several replicas. How many replicas? 0 to M. Like this, depending upon the entity and the context, the cardinality will be decided based upon by developing this entire ER diagram. This MetaCDN database can be built by converting this ER diagram to relational database. That is, each entity set in general, how this conversion will take place is each entity set will be modeled as a table. That means user means one table. CDN credential, that is another table. CDN provider, that is another table. Like this, in general, all the entity sets will be tables. Next, what about this relationship? Relationship will also be modeled as, will be converted as table only. In this particular relationship, how what are the columns that we will be placing is, one is whatever the primary key column that we will be having, our key column, key attribute we have in MetaCDN user, that will be part of this relationship, and key attribute of CDN credentials will also be part of this relationship set table. Got my point? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. CDN user, every entity set in general will be having key attribute. So relationship set, which is modeled as a which is modeled as a table, will be having columns which are key attributes for the participating entity sets. In this particular entity relationship set, two entity sets are being participating. So key attributes from both the entity sets will be part of this relationship set table. Similarly, for also, we will be having key attributes from both the entity sets. And in some context, of course, it is not specified, it is not available in this diagram, but in general, in some cases, we may have some attributes specific to the relationship set. Specific to relationship set. Like you consider user is having certain credentials, since is the attribute for this relationship set. Then whenever we convert this relationship set as the table, apart from, in addition to this key attribute of both the entity sets and that descriptive attribute, we call that one as a descriptive attribute, that will also be part of resulting table. Got my point? Shall I repeat once? That's a useful point actually, not with respect to the subject, but in general. Shall I repeat now? Yes? Yeah. Understood, or shall I need to repeat?
Understood.
Yeah. So this is the ER diagram for MetaCDN database. Next, here there is another one. MetaCDN users are given a number of different deployment options. Different deployment options are provided available for MetaCDN users depending on their needs, regardless of whether they access the service via web portal or web service. As the web portal, we can access the MetaCDN, and as the web service, we can access. We have seen, right? So regardless of accessing, there are different deployment options available. So what are those different deployment options? We'll see now. Here you see the different deployment options include. First one is maximize coverage and performance. This is the what you call one deployment option. If user chooses this particular one, then MetaCDN deploys as many replicas as possible. Okay, so many replicas it will create, and those all replicas will be available in all the geographical locations, so that whenever load redirector receives request, automatically it will directs end users to the closest physical replica. This is the function resultant. Whenever we choose this kind of deployment option, then every user request will be redirected to nearest physical replica where that request can be processed. This is one type of deployment option. Second deployment option is deploy content in specific location. That is, user will specify, that is, user nominates reasons where he wants to keep. Like you consider you are from India, and your business everything has set up, and you are having more customers in other countries than India. As you are from India, you wanted to have one replica definitely in India geographical location that you can nominate, so that in that particular specific location, MetaCDN will deploy your content. One replica can be deployed there. This is another type of deployment option, that is deploy content in specific locations. User can give options, and MetaCDN matches the requested regions with the providers. And what this load redirector will do is directs end users to the closest physical replica. Of course, the same will be done, but the thing is, even though the what you call specified region is not feasible, MetaCDN will consider it because user has requested that and deploy the content in specific locations. This is a second deployment option. Third one is cost optimized deployment. Here, MetaCDN deploys many replicas in locations requested by the user, and transfer budget will yellow keeping them active until that budget is exhausted. This is cost optimized deployment, and this load redirector directs end users to the cheapest replica to minimize cost and maximize the lifetime. Minimize the cost and maximize the lifetime of the deployment. It will consider accordingly. It will redirect. So this is cost optimized deployment. Next, fourth one is quality of service optimized deployment. That is like even though the data is replicated at so and so nearest location, due to network what's called bandwidth, low network bandwidth, we may not get sufficient quality of service. Instead of that, we will be preferring, even though that is not nearest one, we will be preferring to get good quality of service. That we can consider as QoS optimized deployment. In that specific needs, we could opt for this kind of deployment option. Try to understand. We are having several locations. Although one location is nearer to us, our preference is to get the quality of service. Okay, not nearest one. Our quick response time is not needed for us, let us say. Then we will go to another replica where we will be getting good quality of service for our request. Then we will go for it. Such kind of deployments option is QoS optimized deployment. Here you can see where MetaCDN deploys to provide that much specific QoS targets that a user specifies, such as average throughput or response time from a particular location, which is tracked by persistent probing from the MetaCDN QoS monitor. Okay, and this QoS monitor we have seen, right? It will assess the performance periodically. So whatever the quality of service statistics or the performance metrics it has collected, based upon that we will take the decision whether to deploy the content in this particular one, or it's like specifically load redirector to which replica it has to redirect will be decided based upon the QoS monitor statistics. Okay, that is the fourth one called QoS optimized deployment. Is it clear? Fourth one, it's interesting actually. Yes. Shall I repeat more? Fourth deployment option. Yes, please respond, ma'am.
Understood.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Next, final one, like after MetaCDN deploys replicas using one of the above options, any of four options we'll be choosing. It stores pertinent details such as provider used, URL of the replica, desired lifetime of the replica, physical location. These all things will be stored in MetaCDN database. Okay. So after deployment, MetaCDN database will contain all this information. Next, geolocation service is used to find latitude and longitude of where the file is stored. Geolocation service is used. There are two types of geolocation services we can use. One is free, another one is commercial actually. Free in the sense, here you can observe whenever you have this kind of thing, you can refer a footnote actually. While reading textbooks, these can be helpful. See here, free, then 2 is specified. Here we are having 2. Similarly, commercial, then 3 as a superscript specified, that is specified in footnote. So here 2 is nothing but hardstip.info is a community-based project to geolocate IP addresses, and it makes the database freely available. This is one of the sources where we can get a free geolocation service. Next, second one is MaxMind GeoIP. It is a commercial IP geolocation service that can determine information such as country, region, city, postal code. All these things will we can get by using this MaxMind GeoIP, but it is commercial. Okay, so geolocation can be obtained. Why? Because in this MetaCDN we are storing physical location of the replica. isn't it? A physical location. Physical location is nothing but longitude and latitude of that location. So how we can get that parameters? Those parameters is by making use of geolocation service. This can be free or commercial. These are the examples. For free, this is the available site, and for commercial use, we can use this. This is about MetaCDN database and what type of information we'll be having. Next, QoS monitor we have seen, right? MetaCDN QoS monitor, it will tracks the performance of participating providers. In this, it will consider several parameters, and correspondingly, it will generate codes like response codes, 2XX, 3XX, 4XX, 5XX. That is a response code starting with 2 means it will specify success. 3 means it will specify redirection or proxying. 4 means client error. 5 means server error. These are the response codes. Based upon this, QoS vertical monitor to be able to take the necessary steps to resolve that particular issue. Client error means 4. Suppose 405 means client error. 498 means that is also related to client error. Similarly, 5XX, these 2 digits of any, those all numbers will be, response codes will be correspond to server error. Like this, QoS vertical monitor will make use of these response codes to assess the situation. Next, finally, the MetaCDN manager has a number of housekeeping responsibilities, as we have seen earlier. What are those housekeeping responsibilities? First, it ensures that all current deployments are meeting QoS targets of users or not. This is first one. Next, the second one is it ensures that replicas are removed when no longer required. That is, a specified date will be set. Until that time, replicas will be maintained. Afterwards, replicas will be removed. While removing certain necessary actions needs to be taken care, like some backup or some user file needs to be submitted to users. All these things needs to be taken care. This is the task of MetaCDN manager. Third one is for users that have made cost optimized deployments. As we have seen several deployment options we have. The third one, I think, cost optimized deployment. It ensures that a user's budget has not been exceeded by tracking usage. This will also be part of MetaCDN manager responsibilities. One is whether QoS targets are meeting or not. Second one is replicas, when replicas needs to be removed. Third one is whether cost is within the limit or not. Like you consider you have recharge to use 2 GB of data per day. Then whether it is exceeding or not, that has to be ensured. Okay, such kind of activity can be done by MetaCDN manager. These are the 3 responsibilities. Yeah. So far we have seen MetaCDN manager at last, QoS monitor before that, QoS monitor. Next, MetaCDN allocator, which is a basic one, to select storage cloud and physical deployment of it, and MetaCDN database, which will contain after deployment that entire information will be preserved in MetaCDN database. Then by using this MetaCDN database, user requests will be redirected to corresponding storage cloud. That is the task of load redirector. Okay, while allocating, there are several deployment options, which we have seen 4 different deployment options. Based upon that, load redirector will act accordingly. So this is about MetaCDN architecture. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, ma. You can